So, oh wait, hold on, the slides. So I was a William Chrisman cheerleader and dancer. I thought I was living on top of the world. I thought nothing could stop me. I thought I was invincible. Little did I know, I was not. So I did the cheerleading here and dancing, but I was also speech and debate. I did youth group. I was a peer minister. So all the years that I attended William Chrisman, I did all of this. So I also worked at Price Chopper as my first little job as a soccer cashier. I thought I was really living the dream. I was proud of myself and I thought I was doing so good. On February 26th of 16, let's go. Of February 26th of 16, my life changed drastically. I was hit by a man that was driving a stolen truck, actually just catty corner from your guys' football field. It had nothing to do with me. It was almost like I was at the wrong place at the wrong time. It had nothing to do with me. I wasn't texting on my phone, or maybe had, a shot in the parking lot with all my friends. It wasn't like that. I shattered my entire pelvis. I now have a metal rod running through my pelvis with 10 pounds of traction on it to keep my pelvis level and for me not to walk with like a limp or like walk funky, And then my elbow, your two bones right here in your arm, they were jarred out of the skin of my arm, and my elbow is by my gas pedal. Then my scapula, my sternum, and my clavicle, all bones like up here, like in your chest, were all broken. All my ribs were broken. I had a couple of ribs that collapsed on my lungs, so I was also on continuous oxygen as well for that. So then the blunt force trauma was from an F-350 with it was lifted with one of like those brush guard things in front of it. Blew out my kneecap as well, that I have no ligaments in. I suffered a traumatic brain injury, which in my case I have a brain injury called a diffuse axonal brain injury, and that means it affected all of my lobes. You have many different of lobes in your brain, ones that why you have the personality you do, or why you act a certain way, or like memory recall, or your glass, like, okay, now I wear glasses, it's because it affected my occipital lobe. So the 97% of people who have this brain injury do not make it. They later on die. Or the other 3% that do make it are in a vegetative state. They told my parents just to pull the plug, that it wasn't worth the life that I would have because I wouldn't have a quality of life. So then I was in a coma for 2.5 weeks. Every neurologist that came in kept telling my parents, she's not showing any brain activity, because they had me hooked up to like a little brain monitor as well. They go, she's not having any like brain activity, like she's gone. This isn't the same Shelley that is gonna wake up if she ever does wake up. So then, brain scan after brain scan, showing the no brain activity. They kept urging my parents to pull the plug and let me go in peace. Not one time did my parents give up on me and pull the plug on me. Weeks later, after students, teachers, and family and friends all came up to the hospital to see me and just be there for when I woke up, My mom was the only one in the room when I woke up. My mom was holding my hand, my right hand, because my left hand was all, bandaged up and gauzed. I couldn't move my head or anything like that, and her head was on the edge of the bed, looking down, because she was so, exhausted and sleep deprived because she didn't want to miss me waking up. I squeezed her hand and I said, Sean was with me the entire time and said that everything was going to be okay. Sean was my older brother that passed away the day before my birthday in 2012. We were so close. My mom sat there in just disbelief, and then I passed back out. Now that I was awake and breathing over life support, they took me off of the life support and saw that my lungs were strong enough to do it on their own. Now this is where it gets a little bit trickier. When they sat me up on my bedside, they say every day that you spend in the hospital is another 3 days that you have to be in rehab or regain your muscle strength. Well, being in a coma for 2.5 weeks and not doing anything, literally just laying there on a life support machine, I couldn't even sit up on my own. It was like I was like a newborn baby again. I had to go to Madonna Rehab in Lincoln, Nebraska, as I spent 5 months there. We're learning how to walk, talk, think on my own. I was there as if my body had hit like a hard factory reset button. I had speech therapy, occupational therapy, physical therapy, and swim therapy. Every therapy that you can think of. Speech, I worked on things like rewiring my brain. When a TBI happens like this, it kills pathways in your brain. So your brain that tells you to walk and get your legs to coordinate that, my legs and my brain weren't working together. So we'd also play games like Uno or Go Fish, or those silly weird games that you play when you're 5. Shelly had learned that all over again. The thing though was I was 17 and I had the memory of what I was before this. So it was very, very, very strange not knowing how to play any of these games or not even knowing how to pick up my water cup and take a drink. So then occupational therapy was okay. It was, just things that you do every day, like putting on your clothes, showering, doing, your basic acts of everyday living. You'll be surprised what you can do with one hand when you're trying to get out of a hospital. Needless to say, I can put on a sock one-handed. And then PT. PT was my least non-favorite activity. When you're trying so hard to get out of a rehab, you'll do whatever. So I spent weeks not able to walk because of my hips and all my bones trying so hard to heal. 9.5 weeks later, physical therapist Scott walks in and he goes, "All right, it's time to walk." All my family, everyone was there because they wanted to see me walk again. I stood up at the side of my bed, they're all cheering me on, and then I just break down and cry because now I remembered that I could walk, but I couldn't remember how you walk or how you send those pathways down to your legs. So I was trying, and everyone kept cheering me on, so it made me just bawl at the side of my bed. My physical therapist was like, "Are you in pain? What's going on?" And I just shouted, I don't remember how to walk. And he goes, "Physically?" And he goes, "Well, that's gonna be no worry, They sat me down on my bed and they said it's gonna be nothing to get you walking again." So we did a bunch of, going to get my legs stronger and to remember how to walk again. And then he said that I thought how many bumps in the road that there would be after this, because one major thing is that if you don't know how to walk, that's a big hurdle. So needless to say, he came to my wedding 2 years ago and saw me walk down the aisle with my dad. And I give him all the glory for it, because he was the one that really made me walk again. So now I bet you're sitting here thinking, well, I mean, you look pretty normal, right? You would think this all doesn't have still trouble on me today. I would say you're crazy. It's not the easiest with your whole left side broken at one point in time, and all at the same time. I now suffer from PTSD, horrible migraines that put me out for at least 2 or 3 days. I have rheumatoid arthritis because of a wreck and lupus. These are autoimmune conditions. They can always lay dormant in your body forever, but if something traumatic like this happens, it can bring out the issues that are now come to life. I had to let go of the Shelley I was going to be. I wanted to be a lawyer or a nurse. I was going to college for an amazing college days ahead that you all see like in movies. I couldn't wait to have that. Every, Bring It On cheerleading movie I watched, I thought that, all the college days ahead of me were gonna be so bright, and I couldn't just not go to college, Well, I couldn't be the same Shelley I was. It was like everything I had to relearn. I was a 17-year-old baby again. So then I remember learning how to walk and talk and do simple math and reading, that easy stuff you guys do today. The new Shelley didn't know what she had to take so much time for more studying and just couldn't read something and go take a test on it like some of you can. That wreck changed my life forever. It was all because someone stole a car going 76 miles per hour while high schoolers were getting out of school. I was going 34 and a 35, and he demolished my car with no hesitation. Ran down the street and hid behind a grill in the middle of February, acting like he was grilling. A canine named Isaac had his first time, this was like his first day off training. He sniffed the car and went to go find him down the road. He tore the guy up, and he then had to go to the hospital. But why did he run? You couldn't look at that car and say, she's gonna be all right. He ran because he was already on probation for hitting another little girl and hitting her and paralyzing her from the neck down, and also with a stolen vehicle. He was out on bond. The court let me do what's called a victim impact statement. As he was listening to me, he kept shrugging his shoulders and rolling his eyes, not taking accountability for his actions and what he did. Heck, he didn't even stop taking things that didn't belong to him. So for when the judge asked him at the end of my victim impact statement, have you stolen more or less than 100 cars? With no hesitation at all, he said, oh, more. And like acted like offended that he thought that he stole less than 100 cars. He got charged with me and that girl that he paralyzed from the neck down. She's still not 18. The day she becomes 18, I will be able to see her name on CaseNet. That accident was 10 years ago now, and she's still not visible on CaseNet. So, if you do that mathematically, she had to be 8 or less at the time that he paralyzed her from the neck down. He also got charged with leaving the scene of an accident and assault in the 2nd degree. He almost took my life away. He made it unbearable at times because of the surgeries and arthritis that I have to deal with being a 27-year-old. I'm still going through, 10 years later, we still have to deal with a couple felonies. He only walked away with a bloody nose and ran down the street. What I wish he would have walked away with isn't injuries like I did. I wouldn't wish that on my worst enemy. I wish that he would have stayed and seen if I was okay. Took accountability. Accountability is something we are taught from the young age. Take responsibility for your own actions and consequences. He took no responsibility, no accountability, and just left me there like I wasn't someone's daughter, a friend, or a student. Like I didn't want a normal life, and like I didn't have a whole future planned ahead of me. What I'm trying to get across to some of you and all of you is, from what I have to explain from the bottom of my heart, is that you need to be able to take accountability and responsibility for your actions. I think that if he would have stayed and shown some part of compassion and responsibility towards me and my car, I don't think I would have made an emotional toll as it has on me today. His family sent in a Facebook post responding to my Fox 4 News story. She was a cheerleader. She's used to those awkward positions. And then he said, because somehow he got out on bond for mine and that little girl's accident, he said, I should have just killed her. I would have gotten less time. Compassion is something that compassion is something that is not talked about enough. Compassion and empathy, showing that you have compassion towards something that totally flipped a little girl's life upside down, and they said something like that as a bystander / family member. I hope that you all can take from me today and my presentation, take accountability for your actions, and just one simple mistake can turn your whole life upside down. Being behind a wheel of a motor vehicle accident doesn't seem like something that could cause so much. I mean, right? There's airbags and stuff like that. But no, the most serious types of accidents can leave someone dead or almost dead and having to repair their whole life. But when something like this happens, there are always small impacts that saved my life. Wearing your seatbelt, watching your speed, and always telling your family and closest friends that you love them. You never know how small something like this will go by the blink of an eye. No way did I think February 26th of that year that my whole life would have been turned upside down. No way, shape, or form. Actually, I was late all the time to school, actually, because I would stop with one of my best friends at Starbucks to get a coffee. I am now the reason you guys have the rule that when you guys come in and you guys have drinks, you guys have to leave them at the front office. That's me. You're welcome. But just something so small, I mean, can waver on you so much, and I just hope you guys take from me today that the smallest acts and stuff can have so much impact on your life and future. And to always take accountability and compassion, because you never know what someone else is going through, walking through, or what they're about to walk through.
I think one of the things that struck me and Shelley when she was going through this process was the grieving that she had to go through, because she thankfully survived, but she had to grieve the loss of who she was going to be. And she came back to school on a limited schedule. She couldn't do a full day. Stamina couldn't handle it. Her poor brain couldn't handle it. And so we worked with them because we also wanted her to be able to do what she could and experience what she could, but you just can't. I mean, she just couldn't, right? She missed out on all those senior things. I mean, you missed out on everything, didn't you?
I did.
Yeah.
So that happened my junior year. I came back my senior year. The first part of my senior year, I missed the mock car crash. I missed the Dub C dance that you guys do at like the beginning of the year.
Yeah.
I missed that. That was my favorite thing ever. I missed so many assemblies. I missed so much.
And she had to watch other people living the life that she thought she was going to be living. She had to watch her friends that were on the cheer squad cheer, and just grieving all of that, and being 17 and not having the senior year she thought she was going to have, not having life after that. Not because she was wrong. And that's one of the things too that I always stress is, you get into the car with someone and they're not being responsible, it's still your decision to be in that car. And you don't have any control. So if you have someone who's not being responsible and they're texting, hey, let me text for you. Or hey, you gotta pull over and let me out, I'm not taking the risk. Don't be the driver that does the dumb thing when you have people in your car. Because what if you do get into the accident, you're fine, and they're not? Your life will change forever. That is a lot of guilt to carry. So be very, very smart. Be aware of the fact that when you're driving, you are at the mercy of others, so you always want to be a defensive driver. I know you've heard that, right? The other thing is, when you're leaving your house and your parents say, love you, be safe, don't do this. We say that because we've all known somebody that left and didn't come back. So don't take those lightly. Say it back. Because you don't want to be the one who didn't get to say it. Okay. What questions do you have? Do you have any questions for Shelley? She did a very good job. You would never know.